when someone comes in directly for weight loss, it is frequently a challenge because if they're looking for just a physical remedy, frequently there's all this mental emotional baggage, all of this issues of self-love, self-worth. Sometimes there's trauma that really needs to be addressed and healed. And
Mm.
once that is addressed and healed, then the weight loss is so easy. But until that is addressed, the body is going to do what it is doing to protect itself and to take care of itself.
Perfect. Hi, Justine. How are you doing? Welcome.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Of course. Welcome to the Health and Happiness podcast, where we're going to talk all things health and happiness. So guys, just as a backstory, Dr. Justine here uses systems of ancient wellness to guide you into manifesting your most radiant self. That includes nutrition, self-care, relationships, beauty, intuition, and bliss. Justine's special gift is to harness ancient wisdom systems to make them applicable in our modern lives, igniting the special magic of soul aligned with its true purpose. So welcome.
Yay, I'm super excited to be here.
For sure. So specifically, I would love to talk about the energetic body, because I feel like it's the kind of term that's thrown around, which I think a lot of people are like, what is that? And how does it affect everything else, the physical body? You know, someone that's in coaching, we talk about, and I kind of mentioned that you do as well, with nutrition and the physical body and movement, but the energetic body. So do you mind just telling me and everyone else a bit of a backstory about, I guess, how you got into it? You know, did you have any sort of health issues or anything before that kind of led you down the path of questioning and healing the energetic body?
So the term energy, it's kind of unfortunate that like in the Western world, we just have this one word that's energy that can mean so many different things, right? Like we walk into a room and somebody's just been really angry and we can feel that energy. We don't even have to be terribly intuitive to feel that energy. And then we talk about like, wow, I had a lot of energy. I really got through my workout like really well, or my energy was really dragging, right? Like I didn't have enough to get through my routine today or whatever, right? And we can, or my energy is really ungrounded. So we're using this term energy, right, as this huge blanket term for so many different things. And actually, in Vedic and Tantric thought, and in Ayurveda, which is the science of life, Veda means science and Ayur means life. We mean something fairly specific when we talk about the energy body. And you know, this term again gets like overused in, or not overused, just kind of vaguely used in New Age circles or whatever. Like, I went to a sound healing and my energy body got attuned. Like, what does that mean, right? You know, we don't have enough energy to get through the day. And the pranamaya kosha, it's where all of the chakras, all of the vital centers, all of the energetic centers, and all the flows, what we call nadis, in the body or in the subtle body reside. This is the layer, it's very close to the layer of the self that if you've gone to acupuncture, the acupuncturist is working on the physical body. They're placing needles into certain energy, into certain junctures in the physical body to affect the energetic body, because the energetic body and the physical body are very, very closely yoked together. They're intertwined, and the mental body, the mind, is the other side of the sandwich. There's actually 5 layers of the self, but let's just talk about the 3. So we have the physical, that's one piece of bread. We have the energetic, that's the piece of cheese in the middle of the sandwich, the peanut butter and jelly in the middle of the sandwich. And then another piece of bread is the mind, right? All smashed together. this is why, okay, so the mind can go to the moon, right? We know this. The mind can go on this big journey but the body stays right here. And the mind can take us all different places, into the future, into the past, into anxiety, out of the present moment, right? So
Mm.
the mind and the body are two separate things, but there's something that ties them together. And this is the energy body. This is why we can be in a really bad mood and then we go and we physically exercise. We didn't go to to counseling. We didn't do anything with the mind. We
Mm.
didn't even address the mind. And we go out and we like really get into our body and suddenly we're like, "Oh, I'm in a better mood. My mind, I've got like a positive mindset. I'm not thinking all these negative things." What has happened? We've affected the layer of the self that is the energy body, the pranamaya kosha. And because the mental body, or because the physical body and the energetic body are yoked together like a horse and a rider, if we move one, we move the other.
Mm.
But what happens is, because we've got the sandwich, physical, energetic, with all the chakras and nadis, all these kind of exciting things that people get excited about, and then we've got the mental body sandwiched together in this little sandwich. Now, what happens when there are traumas, emotional imprints, and repeated negative thinking? Like, we all get into these patterns of these stories that we tell ourselves, and we tell them to ourselves over and over and over again, right?
Mm.
That's in the mental body. What happens is they get lodged, those traumas, those mental patterns, those things that we tell ourselves, those stories, they get lodged in the energetic body. They get lodged in the chakras, in the vortexes of the energetic body, and then they manifest back into the physical. So the sandwich works both ways, the
Mm.
current works both ways. And this is why, if someone has deep seated emotional, mental trauma, they can go on any diet in the world, but the physical body isn't changing. This is because the energetic body and the mental body, the emotional body, are keeping things in place for a reason. And it's only once they work through the mental, emotional, and energetic knots that have been created or have imprinted on the self, then the physical body, suddenly it changes really, really easily, right? So it
Mm.
works both ways.
Wow, beautifully explained. Because I feel like that is such a just a good thing for people to be aware of. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, what are the most common issues that people come to you for in terms of potential clients? Like, if it is like an energetic thing, or if it's more of a physical thing. I have rashes, I have,
Mhm,
stomach pains, I have weight
mhm,
loss issues. Like,
mhm.
what's the percentage of people coming to you with energetic problems versus physical? And then for you to actually prescribe them with energetic work for physical issues.
Right,
Like, what?
right. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. So many people come in for the physical
Mm.
layer. Like, I've got rashes, or I've got hot flashes, or I've got, various things. And sometimes the problem is really just physical,
Mhm.
right? They're eating foods that are wrong for them, for their particular self, or they're living in lifestyle patterns that are not supportive to their particular body, their particular mind. And so we fix that, we create new patterns, and they feel better, right?
Mm.
But frequently there's a deeper layer that is the energetic and is the mental, is the emotional, that really has to be addressed simultaneously to the physical. And this is where we have like techniques of Ayurvedic, we call it Ayurvedic spiritual counseling. It's really like Ayurvedic psychology and energy work and remedies that are working on the more subtle layers of the self. And when somebody is ready for that, they're ready.
Mm.
But, I think we've talked about this. It's like when someone comes in directly for weight loss, it is frequently a challenge, because if they're looking for just a physical remedy, frequently there's all this mental emotional baggage, all of this issues of self-love, self-worth. Sometimes there's trauma that really needs to be addressed and healed. And once that is addressed and healed, then the weight loss is so easy. But until that is addressed, the body is going to do what it is doing to protect itself and to take care of itself. The
Mm.
body and the mind are intelligent, right? Yeah.
Wow. So if someone was to come to you, I'd love to know like how you just run through with a new client, you know, what is the process? Like what sort of questions you ask? Because I'm sure people, like you might get a lot of people because it is an alternative practice. People are so used to going to the doctor because it's safe, or going to a trainer because that's what people do to, you know, lose weight or be healthy or whatever. So for someone to come to you to be like, okay, how is this different? You know, what can you do for me? And for you to be like, okay, so first thing, we look at the whole picture. You know, I would love for you to share that side of things. So when we talked about it before, it's like, yes, this is what people should be doing, is, you know, looking at the whole range of things. That's what I do as a coach, looking at the whole picture, because as you said, it is so interconnected. So yeah,
Right.
if you could treat me as a client, run through what you do.
So yeah, when a new client comes in, and I do a lot of group work and a lot of individual work,
Mhm.
um, we usually start by looking at the very biggest vantage of that person's blueprint and karma of what they incarnated to learn. And the tools that I use to look at that is Jyotish, or Vedic astrology, which is a separate whole art and branch from Ayurveda. Most or many Ayurvedic practitioners don't work with Jyotish or Vedic astrology, which is quite different than Western astrology. And I really look at the natal chart to give me a sense of what are the karmas, what are the lessons that this person has come here to learn at the very largest vantage, right? And that gives insight about what is this person going through at this time and at this particular juncture. Like almost always there's something happening in the natal chart that brings them into my office,
Mm.
in terms of these larger karmic lessons and patterns. And if we can help them gracefully learn that lesson, then healing happens. And then we dive down really specifically and look at the physical body, like what are the daily, and then I do all these sorts of assessment techniques that we learn in Ayurveda, the facial, I don't want to say diagnosis, facial assessment, tongue assessment. If we're in person, then pulse assessment. We can
Mm.
also do pulses at a distance. And then we even eye, looking at the eyes, looking at different signs in the eyes. And then from there, we start to really dive into, okay, what are you eating? What's the typical breakfast, lunch, dinner? I don't have people's food journal, just like a typical picture really helps
Mm.
me. Sometimes I'll have people food journal, but only for very specific reasons. Um, and then what are the lifestyle, like what's happening in the lifestyle? What time are you going to bed? What time are you getting up? Is there a bedtime routine? Are you partying until 2 a.m.? Like, is there alcohol? Are there other substances that are being taken? And then how are these things manifesting in the physical body? And, I don't really ask the question first. Usually I look I assess all of these factors, and then I already know what's happening in that person's body, and I'll be like, so when I see this kind of profile, usually somebody's having like a lot of rashes, or are you
Mm.
experiencing eczema, or these types of things. And it is often like very validating to the client, because they feel so seen, and they're
Yeah.
like, wow, this person really understands what's happening for me at this time. Yeah.
Would you say is, for someone that's listening being like, oh my God, I feel like I've tried everything on the outside and this is such a cool podcast. I think I want to look outside the box. I want to look actually inside the box. I want to look inside of what's going on here. What would you say is one piece of advice that you would love to kind of plant a seed to be like, I would ask you this sort of question? Or
Well, specifically at the layer of the energy body, we can begin to notice, because remember that the
Mm.
sandwich, right? The energy body penetrates out into the mind and into the physical, right? And so it can feel very esoteric, very like spacey to be like, what's happening with my third chakra? Most people might not have any sense of like, what does that mean? Where is that? What am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed no, you know what I mean? Like some people will know that, but many people won't if you ask them, right? But begin to look towards what are the common and chronic emotional and mental states that are arising for you. Is there a right, because that's it, penetrating into the into the mental, emotional, and then we'll talk about it penetrating into the physical. But is there a feeling of chronic lack and anxiety, right? Like always being concerned about money or lack, anxiety issues. This is really a root chakra issue. And it's really about what we call vata dosha, the nervous system aggravation, right? Or is there, like, are you a crisis junkie? Like, is there always an emotional roller coaster that you're engaged in? And like, it's like from thing to thing to thing. That's second chakra, right? That's sexual chakra, water element. And oftentimes, this is where abuse, sexual trauma gets lodged, and we often see a correlation to weight loss, right? There's oftentimes an issue there. That the second chakra is also, we get into addiction issues, things like that, right? Third chakra, navel chakra, like the chronic experience of anger and irritation projecting out, or chronic like lack of self-esteem collapsing inward, like, oh, I'm not enough, imposter syndrome, like all of this stuff lodges in the navel, right? And may penetrate into the physical body, into like weak digestion and stomach pain and gas and pain and bloating, right? And then usually for most people, it's the bottom three chakras on the in the energy body that get really messed up. It's where we have the least like access to those states of consciousness. And then for most people, accessing love is pretty like easy. They have some experience of that. However, where the heart chakra tends to we get issues is like a state of chronic martyrdom. Like I give and I give and I give and nobody ever gives back to me, right? And this is like heart chakra depletion, right? And it's all of these things are from our own side. We think that it's the outside world projecting onto us, but it's us projecting into the outside world, right? And so that's the heart chakra. And this can manifest in a variety of different kinds of like health things. Eventually it can actually manifest as actual heart problems, right? But it also just like depression and lack of vitality, right? The throat, moving up into the throat, this is like not being able to speak your truth, and having problems with stuttering, having problems getting your message out into the world, or just problems feeling like you're heard, problems with communication, right? The Ajna chakra, the third eye, really is about insight, intuition, being able to access intuition. And then the crown chakra, Sahasrara chakra, is really about connection to the divine, how we connect in any way to the divine, right? And so when we begin to experience or have a realization of like, where is our energy flowing? Even that awareness sparks change.
Oh, incredible. I feel like that's some really relatable stuff there, especially breaking it down. Thank you so much. And if people wanted to reach out to you to ask more questions, if they're feeling like, oh my God, this is totally something that I feel like I'm missing, where can we find you? Do you have like websites?
Right. Yeah. You can find me on my website, which is justinelemos.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Justine Lemos, PhD.
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much, Justine. That was incredible. It's such a beautiful taster into this world, especially for people that have maybe been curious about it, but a bit scared. And yeah, this has just been such an incredible overview of just the benefits of it and just super relatable and I think recognizable in a lot of people that are probably listening. So
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
of course, I'll chat to you later. Thanks, Justine.
Yay.